Hi, everyone. Welcome to our third webinar in our Microsoft March series. It's so good to have you all here with us again. As a reminder, this webinar is being recorded and will be posted online for future viewing, so you can revisit that anytime. For those of you who are new, Microsoft March is IT Solutions' annual celebration of Microsoft Office 365 and all the amazing apps and tools that you have access to as a student, faculty, or staff member here at Minnesota State University Mankato. So all March long, we're helping educate and share tips and resources on Office 365 apps with online help articles and a series of special training webinars. If you want to check out our other resources or register for our next webinar, go online to mankato.mnsu.edu/Microsoft March. Okay, let's go ahead and begin our webinar. So today's topic is Microsoft Teams, which has been such a helpful tool for many of us at the university who are working remotely. And we'll talk more in depth about the app and how to best utilize it to stay in contact with your team and collaborate. My name is Lexi Potter, and I'll be helping host this session. I'm the Strategic Communications Coordinator at IT Solutions. And in a moment, I will hand things off to our presenters, Brian Johnson and Steve Rodman, both Solutions Architects at IT Solutions. And just a reminder, if you have questions throughout the webinar, feel free to use the Q&A button or send them in the chat. I'll do my best to read those off for you. Otherwise, we'll save the last few minutes for more questions at the end if you have them. So with that, we'll switch over to Brian and Steve.
Thank you, Lexi. Steve, are you there?
I am here.
All right, thanks. I just realized I started talking on mute, which I think I have done every time now so far. So today we're going to be talking about Microsoft Teams. And can you just confirm you can see my screen? I currently have a Google Chrome window open.
Okay. Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. So Teams is really a powerful collaboration tool. And I think if you're a current user of Microsoft Outlook or other Microsoft tools, you'll find that Teams really connects all of your Office 365 tools in a great spot for collaboration. So we're just going to get started by showing how to even get to Teams and give a little overview of what it is. So right now, like I said, I'm starting with just a web browser window. And a common place that I think most people know how to get to and know how to work from is Mavmail. Right when you become a member of the university, there's a faculty, staff, or student, you end up using Mavmail. So I just did a quick search for Mavmail and it's the top result here for me. So I'll click on that. And this gives us some information about Mavmail and, mentions that it's the official communication method for the university. And so this is just a great place to start for everyone. So I'm going to click the login button to get logged in. And for today's demonstration, for part of it at least, I'll be using a demonstration account, so it doesn't show any of my personal information. So the first thing it prompts me with is which account do I want to use? And for this web browser, I'm currently using the demonstration account. So I'll select that. And I've entered my password before, so it remembers that, and I'll click sign in. And now I'm getting hit with the, do I want to stay signed in? And since this is showing right now, I'll just quick cover this. This is a great, in most cases, I recommend clicking yes if you're using a computer that you secure when you're not using it. So if you're using a computer that's out in the open that other people have access to and you don't lock it, then I would say no, then you want to log in every time. But if you're using a computer that you're locking or is in a private office or that only you have access to, then I recommend clicking yes so that you don't have to frequently enter your username and password. And for those of you that have enrolled in multi-factor authentication, go through that process. So for this demonstration, I'll click yes. And so far in this demonstration account, I've only got one email, so my Outlook looks pretty empty compared to what I'm guessing most of your Outlook Mavmail areas look like. So, but from here, I have my unread messages and my toolbar on the side. But up here in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see what we call the waffle menu, but it is officially named the app launcher. So I'm going to click on that. And it opens up all the different apps that I have available to me in Office 365. And it gives me the most popular apps up here at the top. And you'll see that one of those is Teams. There are more apps than this. I could click all apps. If Teams happen to not be listed here, I could click all apps and find it. But for this demonstration, I'll just click on Teams, and you'll see that I navigate away from Outlook and over to Microsoft Teams. All right, so the first thing it hits me with is asking me if I want to download the Teams desktop application or if I just want to continue to use the web app instead. So just to show you what it looks like, I'm going to choose use the web app, and you'll see it pops right up then that now I'm in the web app. And because I haven't joined a team yet from this account, the first window it's showing me is an option to find and join a team. Okay, so from here, I could look at some of these teams that are listed as public and join them, or I could wait to be invited to a team if I'm expecting to be added to a team, or I could create a team. And that is right now is limited to faculty and staff can create teams. Students are not able to create teams on their own, but they can make a request to faculty or staff to create a team for them. All right, so for this demonstration, I'm actually going to not join a team to start. The first thing I really want to show is chat, because I think the benefit you can get out of Teams is more than just the namesake Teams part of Teams. There's this other function called chat, but before I do that, really, I want to start by moving to the desktop application, because I think it's just a better all overall experience. Right now, like I mentioned, I'm working in the web browser. And you'll see Teams looks almost the same as it does with the desktop app, but I'm going to show you how to open the desktop app. And I've already downloaded and installed it. If you haven't downloaded and installed it yet, you will, what I've seen before is that it will give you a little option down here in the bottom left-hand corner to download and install the client. If you're using a university image machine, it likely already came installed on that machine. Okay. So here I am on Windows. If I want to open, the Teams application, I'm going to press the start button, and I can scroll to Microsoft Teams and select that application, and it will start up here. I just realized I already had it open, so I just reopened it. And then here's my Teams application logged into my demonstration account. Once again, because I'm not part of any teams, it's opening on a join a team option. So, and I said that a first thing I wanted to show. I'm going to shrink this down a little bit here, down to the standard 100%, so you can see more of what's going on. So here's the team window. I'm going to go to chat, because I know the first thing I had happen in Teams was a chat message, and I had sent Steve a message. Good morning, Steve. Are you still planning to meet at 10? And he replied, yes, I'll be there. And now he just sent another message here at 11:09 that says hi. And if I want to message Steve back, I can do that right here. And on top of just sending a message, there's lots of other options here too. So right now it's just giving me a standard text entry. So this first option, I could format that text and add some bold or italics or color. I can attach a file. I can add some emoji or some GIFs and make it fun. I could schedule a meeting. And there's just lots of different options here in Teams, what I can all do. So I'll just say good morning back to Steve and click send. Oh, and I see Steve sent me a Word document of apps you have. So we have a presentation after this one coming up next week that is related to apps you have in Microsoft Office 365 that maybe you haven't heard of. And so Steve just sent that file over for me to take a look at. So I can click on that right in here within Teams. And it opens up a view into the Microsoft Word document that Steve had sent me. And there's lots of different buttons here. It actually gives me a really functional version of Word right here within the Microsoft Teams window. But personally, when I work on Word documents, I don't like to work on them within Teams. So I just wanted to highlight that there's always a button up here that says Open in Desktop App. And if I press that, it will open my installed version of Microsoft Word, and it will open this document. And any changes I make in that will sync right back to this file that Steve shared with me. So I'm going to press close on that, and we'll go back to the chat window that I have going with Steve. And for future reference, if I ever need to, maybe we chat some more and this goes off the screen and it's like, okay, where did that go? How do I find it? So one way to find it is up here. Anytime you start a conversation with somebody, it also creates this files area. So I could choose files and I can see all the files that Steve has shared with me. So for whatever reason, it didn't load them there yet, but typically that's where they'll be listed and where I could drop more files. Okay, and I can also add more tabs for working with Steve. And it's possible that Steve shared a file with me that's stored in his OneDrive, and that's why it's not there. But okay, so beyond chat, so this is a one-on-one chat, but additionally, you can have multiple people in a chat. So I'm going to start a new chat window because I actually want to communicate with Steve. And remember, I'm using a demonstration account, so I'm going to use myself as the other example. So I'm going to search for myself by entering my last name, comma, first name. You'll see it searches and it finds me here. It has my picture here, so you can be confident it's me. It has my title there, so you know it's me. So there's lots of Brian Johnsons in the MnState system. Like here's my student account. These other ones, it's not clear who these belong to. So if you're not sure which person you're adding, you'll want to find out their star ID, and you can enter that as well to find a person. So okay, so I'm going to message my personal account, my university account, and Steve from this demonstration account. And I'm just sending the message, hello all, and clicking send. And that will message both of them. And now I've just created a group chat between myself, the demo user account, and myself and Steve. So sorry if that's confusing, but and Steve just was on and he replied, great, we all here, we can get started. So this is just the functionality of text messaging. So I think, many of us in our personal lives have switched from making phone calls to doing more text-based chat, whether text messaging or through, Facebook Messenger or iMessage or something like that. Think of Microsoft Teams chatting as a way of doing text messaging at work. So for me, Outlook still has a place in sending long-form communications and has some functionality there. But in most cases, if I just need to bounce something off somebody and I need a quick answer, I can come here and I can just shoot them a message that gets right to the point, doesn't have my signature, doesn't have all the extra information. So I could just say, when is our demonstration next week? And then I don't have, all the formality of an email or the length of an email. I can just message that here and it's more like a text conversation. Yeah, also in these Teams chat though, there is buttons up here in the right-hand corner where I could start a video call or an audio call with Steve and in this case, both Steve and my personal account, so 2 people. So if I just wanted to have it with Steve, I would go to the chat string that's just between me and Steve, or I could hop over and have a group chat. Okay. And another button here is screen sharing. So Teams is really strong in the screen sharing ability. So there's times that I'll be messaging with someone who's having some challenges with their computer, and it's easier for me just to see what they're seeing so I can help diagnose the problem. And so we might start by messaging back and forth of them explaining the problem to me, but then I'll just tell them to press that share screen button and I can see exactly what they're doing. And in addition to that, I can take over, I can request remote control and actually control their computer with their approval to help them figure out what's going on. So if you frequently work with your coworkers and maybe you're the expert on using a particular application in your department and you're working with somebody to help them get up to speed, then you could have them share their screen and you could show them exactly what they need to do to get whatever function it is you're trying to get done.
Yeah, the chat functionality of Teams is really great. It's really the successor to the old application we had, which was Skype for Business, which allowed internal communication via chat and via phone calls. This is really the next evolution in this, and it provides great functionality.
We've got a couple of questions in the chat here that I think are relevant. We have one question. Can you permanently delete chats that don't need to be saved?
Good question. I'm going to go over here to the chat I have going with Steve, and there are 3 dots next to it and another button here for popping it out. So if you want to use your Teams window for more than one thing, you can actually pop the chat out. But to get to the question, I'll click on this more options button. And there's a lot of different options there for me. And it's mark is on red, a pin, which is a really cool one. So if Steve and I have been working on this all month. So in my personal account, it would have been wise of me to pin it to the top so that anytime that I need to quick message him, I could do that. But let's keep going down here. I'm going to actually unpin this one to get to the question I thought I saw. Steve, do you remember where delete is, or if that's an option?
I don't know if you can delete an entire chat, but if you hover over one of the messages that
oh yes, thank you.
You can delete individual messages, but I don't think you can delete the entire chat. Not a functionality that I know of.
Okay, that is a good one that we should look into. So thank you for the question. But yeah, what Steve just highlighted too was if I mistyped good morning and I wanted to go and either just delete it or edit it to, maybe I had a typo in there, or maybe, I usually use 3 exclamation points. So let me change that to 3. I can make that change and then press the little check mark here to indicate done. Or if I was happy with the 1 exclamation point, I could hit cancel. So in this case, I'll just edit it to that. And then it gives an indication that this is an edited message. Were there any other questions, Lexi?
Yeah, so we've got one more, and this might be something that you may cover later on, but they ask, what is the difference between using a group chat and then just like posting in the team?
Okay, so yeah, we'll be getting into Teams later, but for me, chat is really, in a lot of cases, could be used instead of Teams. If you just have a one-on-one project going on or just a couple of people, you might not need to create an entire team. You could just do everything that you need to do in a chat. So a team, for me at least, is more of long-term storing of documents and kind of keeping that history of the conversations that you've had or topic-based conversations. So maybe, as a team owner, you post something in a team and you want responses specifically to that, where chat is just a single string back and forth. In Teams, you can post an original chat message and then have people reply specifically to that one topic. So we'll get into that more as we move over to creating teams, but good question. And let's remember to address that more as we get to that part. Were there any more, Lexi, or are we okay to move on?
So one question that I have for you, Brian, is
Sure.
What if I'm not available or I don't want to be disturbed? Can I set my status in chat or Teams?
Excellent. Yes. So right now I can see next to your image in this chat, it has a little circle with a dash through it. And that's because Teams is reporting that you are in do not disturb mode, which means I shouldn't be messaging you right now. Now, the only reason I'm willing to do that is because I know that what you're not wanting to be disturbed from is something you're working on with me. But for me, the demonstration account that I'm using doesn't have anything on my calendar. So it's showing me as available. So that's the cool thing about how all these Office 365 tools work together, is that if you're using your personal account and you have something on your calendar and it's in the category of busy, it will automatically show you as busy. But let's say you're busy, but you have office hours and you actually want to be available. You can manually change that by coming up here. And for most people, it's probably a picture, but it might be initials. You can select on that and you can set a status message, which I just did, or you can just change your availability. So if I click the drop-down box, I could either choose busy or do not disturb. If your computer goes to sleep, it will put you as away. So it'll do this little orange clock, or I could just appear offline. And you can set a duration to that as well. Or you can just reset your status and have it completely based off your calendar. So I almost never edit my availability, but I love to know that it's there if I can. So because I keep my calendar, up to date with what I'm currently doing, I usually let my calendar decide when I'm available and when I'm not. But if you're someone who wants to be able to customize that option is here for you.
One other quick thing, Brian, if you would, while you're in that menu.
Yeah.
Is if you go down to the settings wheel, there are also a lot of settings that you can put into Teams here, whether you want the default, a dark mode, a high contrast. You can also, over on the left-hand side, you can see devices. So here's where you can change if you have a webcam or a different microphone, or right when somebody calls you, it's going to ring like a phone. And where do you want that ringing to go? And so there's a lot of options in here as well how to kind of get yourself set up for using chat and different Teams functions.
Yeah, good point. That's really a great feature set of Teams. It's just how customizable it is. So if you find that the default settings aren't working for you, there is likely a way for you to change what it's doing. Okay, did we cover everything in chat, or pinning chat? I think I showed that. That was another one that we wanted to highlight, but I'll just show it one more time, that if Steve is someone I collaborate with regularly and I want to pin his chat, I can just choose the 3 dots and pin it to the top of my chat window here. Lexi, did you have another question?
Yeah, so we just got one more about setting your status. So if you set yourself as busy or do not disturb, then what happens to the messages that people send? Does it block those, or does it block the notification, or how does that work?
That is a good question that I'm pretty sure the messages still come in. Now, whether they ring your computer or not. Steve, could you send me a message and let's see what happens while I'm in the busy mode.
Sorry, I was looking for the chat again. I lost it for a second.
No problem. All right, so Steve just sent me a message and it did not ring my computer. Now that could be because I'm in a presentation and my computer is detecting that I'm in a presentation mode and not to constantly be ringing with any new notifications. It could also be that I have this open, so this might not be a perfect example, but I'm pretty sure what happens is the messages will still be received. Whether or not the notifications pop up, I just can't recall. So now I'm off that, and I'm actually going to go to my calendar and just see what happens when Steve sends the newest message. Okay, so the message does still come in. So it's more of an indication to your coworkers maybe not to send during that time, but it does not actually stop the messages from coming in.
Can you try and test it, Brian, if you have yourself set to do not disturb
Yeah.
instead of busy?
Absolutely, that's a great idea. Okay, so now I'm do not disturb. Steve, if you wouldn't mind sending one more message here. I love this. These questions are great to kind of testing things I hadn't tried or thought of on my own to see what happens. So, and Steve, just let me know when you've sent the message in case it doesn't know.
I sent one.
Okay. Yeah, so this time I have not got it yet. So that leads me to believe that it will not interrupt what I'm working on when I have do not disturb. But if I go to the window, I can see that Steve has sent a few different messages. So it looks like if you're looking to completely take yourself offline and not to be interrupted, do not disturb would be the option to use there.
Yeah, good questions. And then you might also touch on this a little bit later, but we have a question about calling using Teams. So the question is, if I call a student using the Teams phone, does it appear that I'm calling from MSU, or how might that look to the student?
So this is really calling within the Teams application, and it does not currently do outbound calls that I'm aware of. Steve, do you know anything differently on that?
We used to be able to do some outbound calling in Skype for Business. I don't believe that feature is available yet in Teams. And so, right, if Brian were to hit the call button right now, it would ring my computer and it would show up that whoever's logged into Teams is trying to reach me through Teams. So you can't reach out to students to call their cell phones through Teams, but you can reach out to them from, Teams app to Teams app.
So you could search for the student in this, and if I was searching for, sorry, I'll probably have to use your full name. So if I'm searching for Lexi, I would find her as a user for the to field. I would go down here to start typing the message, and that's when my call buttons appear. And now I can see that Lexi is in do not disturb mode, so I probably shouldn't call her, but that would be the way that I would call her. For a student that is not active, it will either show nothing here or it will show as offline. So in my experience when reaching out to people and I wasn't sure whether they were a Teams user or not, I'll go start a chat message and I can see what their status is. And if they're online, then I'll go ahead and try to message them through this. And if they're not, then I'll try to use traditional method, just calling them or emailing them.
And another important note, I think, is that we're using the Teams app, but if you have Teams open in an internet browser as well, phone calls and audio works very similar. we'd be able to interact and have that conversation, whether I was in the full client or the browser.
Excellent. All right, so if there's more questions about chat, let's go back to those, but let's move into Teams if we could. So like I said before, currently I am not part of any teams. Okay, so when I navigate to Teams, nothing is listed there because I'm a new user and I have not been added to any yet. But on another computer here, I'm going to add myself, or add the demo account, excuse me. And we'll see just how quickly it works. So I'm clicking the add button now, and I'm making them a member. And you'll see almost immediately after I did this on another computer from my personal university account, I added this demonstration account to this team. And so here's my test for IT strategic operations team listed here. And I can see I have 2 channels. So when you're part of a team, you'll see the default channel when you create a team or when you're added to a team is called general. Okay. And then you can create additional channels as well. So if you're going to create a team, so let's say you're not part of any teams, but you're the person in your department that's going to create the team. Let me quick move over to show what that will look like. So I have a Teams window open here in a browser, logged into my personal account, and over here is my list of teams. This is my actual account now, not the demonstration account. You'll see how many I have. So because I'm part of lots of teams, you'll see a long list here. But I can go down here to the bottom where it says join or create. And as a faculty or staff member, I have the ability to create a team. And so once I click create team, the first option it gives me is what type of team am I creating? So personally, I like to use other because I'm not a faculty member, so I'm not holding classes, but that would be recommended for faculty who are using it for class purposes. Professional learning communities are really cool. I know we have a few of those going. Staff also works great and has some integrations into it. I'm not going to get into the little differences. The primary thing that makes these differences in classes, you can do assignments in some of these professional learning communities or staff groups. It creates notebooks. And I'm just going to use the default, which is other. So it adds nothing extra. And then I'm going to create the team. So watch as I start to type the team name here. I'm going to type Microsoft March 2021. Okay, and you'll see what it does. Up here, I'm able to enter the team name, but right here, it's showing me what the team name will actually be. Because we're part of the MnState system, it adds 2 things. It adds MNSU dash to the front of my team name, and it puts dash team on the back. And that just helps us as an IT department kind of be able to distinguish what groups are created and for what purposes. And it helps you know, especially if you're working with other departments or agencies throughout the system, who, what team you're part of. So one team group, I'm gonna click cancel for this purpose. You'll see the prefix on this group is SO-Zoom users team. And what SO stands for is System Office. Okay, so for anything created at Minnesota State, it's MNSU dash, and the System Office is SO dash. And I don't know if I'm part of any other teams, but Winona State, for example, will have their own prefix. Okay, one other thing I want to highlight here, you'll see in my list of teams that one of the teams is bolded. And what that is telling me is that there is an unread message in that team that I haven't read yet. Okay, so just while I have that handy, I just wanted to point that out. In my long list of teams here, you'll see one of them's bolded, and that's because I have an unread message in there. But I want to continue on with creating my team. I was clicking that button to open this window. It was already open. All right, so click other, and then I'm going to type in Microsoft March 2021. That's my team name. I could add a description here if I wanted to. And now the privacy. This is a really important one. Okay, so I'm going to hit the drop down box here and look at these 2 options. So private by default, this team will be made private. So if this is something that only Steve and I should have access to, maybe it has some private information about our project. If you're collaborating on student information, then you definitely should have it be private. Or if you're creating a kind of a collaboration space for the entire university to partake in the conversations or to see the files, then you could choose public. But in most cases, you're going to want to select private here if you're working with any kind of sensitive data. And then I'll click next. And the next option it gives me is to add members to my team. So I'm going to choose add. And Lexi's kind of running the show for us here. So I'm going to make her an owner. And choose close. And that's it. That's how easy it was to create this team. And now if I scroll down, it adds it to the end of my long list here. So, and I can take and drag that back up. So I can take and drag that really anywhere I want it. So there, I just moved it there. Let's move it to the top of my list. Or even better than that, I could choose to pin. I can't pin an entire team, but I can pin a channel. So if this channel within Teams is really important to me, I could choose the option. And much like I did in chat, in Teams, I can pin a specific channel. Okay. Oh, I just got a message from Steve, and he messaged me. And he just posted to our general channel of the Microsoft March 2021 team, and he included my name and Lexi's name and said, "Let's go." And I can reply, "Can't wait." And maybe I want to add a little flair to this message. I could choose an emoji with a big smile and hit enter. And you'll see, unlike chat, where it's just one after the other, in messaging within channels, it's topic based. So really, Steve just set the topic here of "let's go," and we can reply to that. But maybe I want to have a conversation about, I want to start a new topic. So down here at the bottom, I see the new conversation tab. So up here, what I did to reply to Steve's message, I clicked reply. But if I want to start a new topic, I could come down here and click new conversation. All right. And I'm going to keep this real simple. Budget planning, your thoughts. And there I've just kind of created a new conversation around that. Now, this is not a great example because I didn't add a lot. So, but maybe you got an email that came from, academic affairs, or your department that got one from a student affairs department from the student affairs, and you need to take this back to your team to discuss. You can actually forward emails into this, and that would be the new message. Or you could, copy and paste information, or if it's a news article, you could post that. And then you can just create a hub here for you and your team to have a conversation around a specific topic. Okay, so here I've created a new team. I'm in the general channel, and we're having a conversation already about this.
We have a couple of questions that just came in. One specifically about the channel. So what does it mean to have it be a channel versus like the full team?
So the team is really a container for channels. So within every team, you have to have at least one channel. And the first channel that it creates for every team, so if you go down here and expand, you'll see the first channel it creates is general. All right. So then a secondary channel would be like a subset of that team. So everyone by default that's on your team has access to general. But let's say I wanted to have a breakout conversation. So maybe Steve and I are going back and forth on the budget, and we keep talking about it. And Lexi, and maybe let's say there's 10 other members on our team, they don't really care about the budget. And so they kind of want us to take that offline. We could move that to a chat, or if we wanted to, we could create a whole new channel just for the budget conversation. So I'll show how to do that. I'm going to come here, I'm going to click 3 dots, and I'm going to add a channel. And we'll call it budget. And privacy is standard, which means everyone in the team can come in and look. And what I love about this feature is that it creates a channel, so like a separate container for this conversation and for the files that go along with it, and maybe whatever other apps that we want to add, and we'll show how to do that in a little bit. But it keeps it open to everyone. So it's not that we're trying to have a conversation so that no one else can be included in it. It's more so that we don't want to take up this general feed, distracting you with budget talks if you don't have any interest in working on the budget, or it's not something that is a priority for you. Okay, so it just lets you kind of have breakout topic-based conversations. And in a department, you might be a department around one big topic, but within the department, you break out, you have budget talks, you're part of different committees, you have different initiatives, and each of those could become a channel. Now, optionally, I chose the open to everyone in the team, but you can actually create private channels as well. So in this other team that I have here, it's called Test for IT Strategic Ops. You can see I have a general channel, But then I also have an alternate channel test, and that was just the name I threw out the day that I created it. And it has a little padlock next to it. And that shows that in this team, not everyone that's part of the main team can access this channel. So, maybe as a department, you're going through a hiring process and only, 4 members are going to be part of the hiring committee. And so you create a channel specifically around that hiring process that's limited to just you, because not everyone should see hiring documentation, right? Only some people should. So maybe you'd create a limited channel just for that topic.
And we have 2 more questions hanging out in the chat here. While we are talking about access and permissions, what does being an owner of a channel or a team mean as far as rights and access?
Sure, owner has all the access. So if you're an owner, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to manage this team. So I just click the 3 dots next to the team, and it immediately takes me to the members list. Everyone on a team has the ability to see who's part of that team. Okay, so anyone can see this. Now, what they can do in this section varies depending on whether you're an owner or a member. So as owners, Lexi and I are able to create other owners and to add other members. Okay, and you can actually adjust this a little bit. There are some settings, so you might make it so that other members can add members. I can't remember all the nuances with all those options right off the top of my head, but there are different ways that you can figure it. But in general, the owner has complete control over the team, whereas the members can merely contribute and view. They can't control who else has access and who should be deleted. So I think I answered the question there, but let me know if there was any follow-ups.
Yeah, that sounds good. We do have one more question that I want to get to, and then we can go ahead and move on. So for those of us who maybe have a student and an employee account, someone's asking, how can they tell if they're logged in as their student account or their employee account on Teams?
Good question. I know there's a few different ways. One, some indicators are that when you look at your login credentials, it would be at go.minstate.edu instead of at minstate.edu. There, that is a really great question. I know it creates some confusion for students who both have are serving as a staff member and have a staff account and a student account. One thing I'll tell you is that like one tip I give to students who are in that position is to use 2 different browsers for the different accounts. So maybe Google Chrome is their student account. That's their preferred browser. So they use that for all their student stuff. But when they're working and need to access their staff level account, they would use Mozilla Firefox. But additionally, most browsers today have different profiles. So I could click up here and you'll see all the different profiles that I have. So right now I'm using the demo account. Actually, right now I'm using my personal account. I could swap over to my demo account, and I have another account here for testing as well. So, okay, let's move on to, all right, we talked about creation and configuration, channels, hiding and unhiding. Okay, so let me move back to the demo account that I use so I don't accidentally show something I shouldn't. Oh, and I see in the meantime, while I was away from looking at this demonstration account, Steve has added me to a team here, to his team, MNSU-Steve Rodman, and I can look at his general channel and see what he's all posted there. So, all right. Oh, hiding and unhiding. Okay. So right now you'll see in the Steve Rodman group that he added me to that he has the general channel, a channel about CSET. He also has 5 hidden channels. And what that means is a lot of these teams will start creating lots of channels, and the default setting is to have it hidden so that, it might be impractical for you to stay apprised of what's going on in every single channel. And you'll go in and select what channels you want to pay attention to. So, and I've got lots of things open right now, so I'm worried I'm running into some user interface challenges. Part of being logged into multiple accounts. Lexi, were there any questions while I quick relaunch my Teams application here?
Yeah, and you might get to this in a moment, but we have a question on how to schedule a Teams meeting similar to Zoom.
Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah, much like Zoom, you can hold meetings in Teams as part of a team or as part of a chat, or you can create custom meeting information. So I can go to my calendar here. That's one of my options on my left side. and I could create a new meeting, and I can schedule a meeting. And by default, it will create it as a meeting in Teams. So let's see here. Microsoft March planning. This does not repeat. I can add it to a channel. So if I specifically want to post about this meeting to my test account channel, I can do that. And then I can click send. Or I can hop into, much like in Outlook, I can use Scheduling Assistant to find a time that works for us.
And then also from the Outlook application, when you're scheduling a meeting through Outlook, there's a little toggle to the right of the location field, and you can make a Teams meeting through Outlook as well.
Okay, good to know. Is that both in the Outlook application and on the web, do you think?
I would guess so. I'm mostly operating in the web, but I would assume that it would be similar.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna hop back in here. I relaunched Teams because, like I said, I'm using multiple accounts, and just wanted to give it a fresh look here and see if I can unhide some of my channels. That's what I was trying to demonstrate. And oh, looks like I'm gonna have to refresh again. But oh, I see why. On another window, I'm getting a pop-up. I wonder if that's causing me any challenges. So I got 2 windows going here and 2 meeting applications. Okay, let's move on to what's next on our list. We talked about pinning. We talked about notifications. Oh, tabs.
Yep,
okay,
tabs.
Thank you. Yeah, within a team, you'll notice here. Okay, when I click on general, the first thing it takes me to is the posts. So the conversation around this given topic, and then the next tab is files. So almost everything in Teams starts with this conversation view or tab, which is called posts. And the next one is called files, because frequently what people are doing in Office 365 is sharing documents. But then these next tabs are all customizable and up to you. So the next one for this channel, I was playing with this news feature, so I could create that. But over here on the far right, I can actually add whatever tab I want. And by pressing that, it's going to open and show me all the available apps that are available to me to pin. So maybe because it's a budget conversation, I wanted to pin an Excel file that we're all using to collaborate on, or I want to pin a specific form. What are some other good examples here? A Word document, a OneNote page. So look at all these different options, even other applications. So not just Microsoft 365, but other applications from other vendors. So Adobe, for example, Creative Cloud. So once I choose one of these, so let me pin a Word document. And hopefully I have a Word document in my team that I can use for this example. Oh, links for FlexSync is one that I worked on. So I can just pin that here and click save. And it also gave me an option to post to the channel about it. So if I go back to the general posting channel, you'll see that IT demo user, which is the account I'm using, added a new tab to the top of this channel. And here's a link. And it gave a link right to that Word document that I created. That was FlexSync shortcut links. And that was just something I put together as we were working on the FlexSync project, of a way to quickly use a flow. And once I click on it, you'll see it just opens a preview of the Word document there. So then I'll go back to posts. And then I can actually move those tabs around too. So if I want this this tab to be, more front and center, I can move that over. And now it's right here next to files. So this top tab section might change as your project changes. So, initially you might be working on a whiteboard or some project outlining in Word or something like that. But then as the project advances, that moves to the side, and you maybe have created a website now and you want to create that as a tab, or you want to move into Project, which is a really great application that works great with Microsoft Teams, that you can create a project around it and get a view into your Kanban project board. And Steve, did you have anything to add on Teams, or did we have any questions, or excuse me, on tabs, or do we have any questions about that?
No, I think you hit a lot of the highlights on tabs. It's really a place to put kind of dynamically the things that you're working on for quick access. And then, once you're done with it, you kind of roll those in and out. I think you hit all the highlights there.
Yeah, it really just lets you customize the experience within your team. So whatever your team's focus is, you'd be able to pin those things right to the top of your uh, to the channel within that team. So each channel then can have its own customized tab view. So look, by default, this private channel that I created only comes with posts and files because I haven't added anything else there yet. But I could start adding stuff, whatever I want the focus to be. So if we were collaborating on a website edit, maybe that'd be the thing I'd pin there, just to make it quickly available for anyone that's part of this team. Oh, and I see we're down to the final 10 minutes. So let me quick scroll through my list of other talking points here.
In the meantime, one good question, are OneDrive files connected to team files, or how does that work?
Yeah, that actually leads perfectly into our next kind of general topic area, which is just around data. So the great thing about Office 365, it's all built on the same system, which in the back end, the original is SharePoint. And much of the tools that you know by different names is really powered by SharePoint in the back end. So Microsoft OneDrive, for example, if you're using OneDrive, those are using a SharePoint site for storage and for permissions. Same thing with Teams. This is actually, if I click into the files section here, it's going to load my files, but you'll notice a button up here that says open in SharePoint. And so they're stored in much the same way. But instead of, OneDrive is really, the way I like to think of OneDrive versus Teams versus SharePoint is that OneDrive is for my files and that for Teams is our files. So once I'm part of a team, I might originally have something created in my OneDrive account that I'm kind of the drafting and coming up with, but then that spins into a project or into a team level thing. So then maybe I move it from my OneDrive into a team and make it a team document or a team file. And so all the same tools that you have in OneDrive, you have in Teams as well. So things like versioning, what are some other examples? Within a team, you can share files individually. So one thing we encourage people to do when you have a good opportunity is to migrate your files, maybe your department files, into a department team instead of using the N drive. And one of the benefits of that is, you might have an entire document structure for your department, and you just want to share one file in there with someone that's external to whatever it is that you're working on. And you can do that kind of granular sharing within all the different SharePoint applications, which are OneDrive and Teams. So I hope I didn't confuse things too much there, but there's just really a lot of flexibility once you start using these tools, and you can really start building on the foundation, which is SharePoint. Okay. When transitioning from a department, like I just mentioned, if you're considering transitioning from an N drive or from your personal OneDrive or N drive or your department N drive into Teams or OneDrive, you really want to do that carefully. You don't just want to try to take a file that has 10,000 documents in it and drag and drop it in, because there are going to be some things that don't work quite the way you're expecting, in that, like on the N drive, some special characters might be allowed. So maybe you have files that have I don't know, I'm making this up, so don't quote me on this one, but like the $sign in it. But then when you go to use it in Teams, it doesn't have that. So as you're migrating from the N drive to Teams, you kind of want to do that in small little groups and really just kind of spend some time on it, either a morning or an afternoon or a day, depending how many files you have, to kind of slowly transition those files over. But once you're all set up in Teams, then you can really start building around an environment that's more than just file storage. It lets you do things, like I said, chatting and having conversations. And let's see here, I'm getting a couple messages from Steve.
Yeah, sorry, I went the question about scheduling meetings in Teams. And so the first one is an Outlook picture from the web. So when I went to schedule a meeting, there's a little box there and you can tick that over. And that'll do a Teams meeting. The one below that is from the new experience from Outlook. It's same functionality. And then the bottom one is from the traditional view. If you open up a calendar and have Teams, there should be a button up there to allow you to schedule a meeting.
Excellent. Thank you, Steve. Nice work. And you'll see how quickly he was able to just go there, get this information, grab screenshots, and post it in a chat so that I have it right away. So I didn't have to wait till after for him to email me or for me to check my email, that he knew that was important information here now, and through using Teams was able to get it to me that quickly. All right, continuing on to what I was saying with the different files. So I created this new conversation and we were talking about moving some of your files over. So let me go to files again and just show you what open in SharePoint. So what this is doing is giving me a view of the document library of this team, of this channel. I can choose open in SharePoint. And what that's going to do is open that same document library here. And this can be where I do things like drop the files, and there's other cool functions. So Steve, one that you had mentioned that you really like is the sync button. So I can click on that and actually sync it back to my computer. Okay. I'm getting a little notice there. Okay. We're getting down to our final 5 minutes. So just one more thing I want to highlight before turning it over to Lexi to wrap up. If we have any other questions, we'll certainly take those and we can stay after our time if needed. But I was running the Teams application, right? So I have the browser and the application. And because I use Teams so much, by default, your Windows might be hiding your Teams. So right now I have it open, so it's showing here on my taskbar, but if I hit the X button, you'll see it disappears. And now you might think, oh, it must be closed. It's not running. I should open Teams again. But it actually remains running, much like Skype did. It remains running. So if I come over here to my show hidden icons, I can click that button and you'll see there's my Teams application. And this is one I like to use so much that I actually take and drag it from here down to where I can see it. So that anytime I want to, I can, one, see what my status is. I can right mouse click and change some of the functionality. So I can change my status to busy, or it was closed before. Let me show what that looks like. So right now I can see that it's running. It's showing me as busy, or I can always just come down here and click on it, even though it's not open, and it pops open, ready for me to use. So that's just a user tip. If you're going to start using it day to day, to have it running in your taskbar or in your system tray so that you can easily access your chats and your Teams. All right, was there anything else that we needed to cover or any other questions? Oh.
I think the last thing that I'd like to touch on real quick is the searching ability. As you get involved in more chats, as you get involved in more Teams, the ability to search and look for keywords or people or teams.
Good call. So up here at the very top of the Microsoft Teams application, you'll see a search bar. And in this, I can search for things like, I know we were having a conversation about a demonstration. So let me search for that. And what it's going to do here, it's going to search everything that my Teams application has access to. And over here in this column here, you'll see that messages is highlighted. So the first thing it searched the word demonstration for is in the messages section. And you can see that I've had it mentioned it twice, once 43 minutes ago and once 2 hours ago. And I can click on that to open that message and see, well, okay, where were we talking about the demonstration? There it is. Okay. If I was searching for people, I would click on the people tab, which not with demonstration, I'm not, or with files I could. So I don't currently have any files with the word demonstration either as part of the name or in the file. But if I did, it would search within all my teams and find where that is. So maybe you're on a team that's working on a project and you have, you know, I showed you before my list of all the teams that I'm part of. You can imagine all the files that I have, but just knowing how to quickly search within all those teams to find what I'm looking for is super helpful. So using that is great. And one other thing I'll highlight here too is activity. So once I click on the activity button, what that does is it shows me a summary of everything that's going on across my Teams application. So it might be chat conversations, it might be Teams conversations, or someone sharing a new file. And so if you just want a general feed of all the things that are going on in Teams, your activity section here would be a great place to do that.
All right, thanks, Brian and Steve. We're running up on time here, so let's go ahead and switch back over to our PowerPoint.
Sure.
If you're interested in viewing IT Solutions webinars on other topics, head over to mankato.mnsu.edu/ITS webinars. And that's where you can find sessions on lots of different topics like cybersecurity, tech tools for working remotely, tips for university website editors, and much more. And then to stay up to date with the latest campus technology news, get tech help and support, or explore some of our other resources online, you can view our website at mnsu.edu/ITS. And also don't forget to follow us on Facebook at ITSMSU and on Twitter at ITSMNSU. Okay, so we did have one really great question left in the chat. Someone says they have a group that includes community stakeholders who are not students or employees, and they want to know, is it possible to allow external members to join teams with limitations?
Yes, you can actually create guest accounts, and there are some, limits that you should know about with that. So let me see if I can find the article quick. I just read this recently about the limitations of guest accounts. They don't have access to every function that's in Microsoft Teams, but you can get them access to the conversations and files that you're having and the files that you're sharing. So I'm just going to do a quick Google here for Teams guest access. And here's a whole article about providing guest access. And additionally, I think that leads nicely into how you can learn more about Teams. So one thing I wanted to highlight, let me bring up my window here and show professional learning communities. So we have faculty learning certificates, and one that we have going on right now, it's already started, but is the team certification. I suspect in the future they'll have that again. So just something to keep an eye on is this page with all the different certifications we have. But then we also have online learning that you can take at your own pace whenever you want. So this one's at mankato.mnsu.edu/LinkedIn Learning. That's the name of the platform. Previously, it was known as Lynda. So if you've ever used lynda.com, it's that same thing. You come to this page and click login or create an account. And because I've logged in before, it knows who I am, but otherwise I would enter my star ID and password. And from here, I can search for Teams. And so what Steve and I just did was give a broad overview of Teams and how to use it here at the university and when it might make sense to use it. But if you really want to dive into each of these functions and how they work, you can see there's a lot of different courses here. So Microsoft Teams Essential Training, Microsoft Teams Quick Tips. So if you really want to dive in, if this feels like a product that you're going to be taking on, I highly recommend coming here and really getting to know the topics. So within Essential Training, I can't remember if they specifically get into guests, but there is a training in here.
Communication is one of the biggest keys to success.
Let me pause that. There is one of these training sessions specifically about doing guest access in Teams. So maybe I would search Teams guest and see if it comes up. Configure guest access. Configure manage OneDrive and Teams guest access. So it might be in this video here. So anyway, spend some time in LinkedIn Learning and find what you're looking for there, and it will really dive into giving you all the information you need for that.
Then one really quick question, Brian. You mentioned certifications. Are those only for faculty members?
Another good question. These are the page I'm showing right now are faculty learning certificates. So to my knowledge, that is the case. But the LinkedIn Learning is available to all faculty, staff, and students. And I think we have some learning opportunities for students as well. But I'm not thinking of those right off the top of my head. So I might have to do some digging to get that one. And then can I highlight one other thing too? If you want help setting up your team or just getting started, feel free to reach out to our Solution Center, IT Solution Center at mnsu.edu, or search our Solution Center page for help and support, or get in touch with your solutions architects. So Steve and I, we're solutions architects, but if you're a faculty or staff member, your department or your college or your division has an assigned solutions architect whose job it is to help kind of get you started on this stuff and to kind of help create an overall information management plan. Anything else, Lexi?
I think we're good. Thank you, everyone, for all your awesome questions. And thanks, Brian and Steve, for your presentation. We're going to go ahead and conclude our third Microsoft March webinar here. Thanks so much for joining us today. Don't forget to register for our next one, and have a wonderful day.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great
Thanks
day.
all. Bye.